We try to stay ready so we don't have to
Stay
get ready.
ready so you don't have to get ready.
Right.
Listen, you just triggered something in me when you was like, we're buttoned up. We have our press kit. I'm like, girl, yes, I love to hear it. Welcome to the Brand Brief podcast, where we discuss the latest trends on the business side of fashion, beauty, entertainment, and lifestyle brands, and the impact of technology on driving brand growth. This podcast is powered by Brand Method Media Group, and I'm your host, Kelly Kelly. Today's guest is Rochelle Porter, founder and creative director of Rochelle Porter Design. Rochelle Porter Design is an eclectic lifestyle brand and design house known for bold colors, patterns, and sustainable practices. Inspired by global traditions, the founder, Rochelle, blends her Caribbean roots with Scandinavian simplicity and West African weaves, creating modern, vibrant designs that prioritize eco-consciousness and community enrichment. Welcome to the show, Rochelle.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Wonderful. So I would love to kind of go back and maybe just start with a typical day at Rochelle Porter Design and what type of insight on how your team navigates the creative process and brings your vibrant designs to life.
Okay, so there's no such thing as a typical day,
Okay,
which is
there's
probably
a
not
start.
surprising to you. It's, I feel like once I get out of bed, it's chaos. I think I get this question a lot, and I think people think if you have a creative business, you just kind of sit around and draw all day. But I always say it's, 10% design, 90% business in my design business. So once I get up, do whatever morning routine I have, I try to be as quiet as possible in the mornings, try to spend time in prayer and just kind of listening and getting my thoughts together. And like I said, once I get out of bed, it's email after email. It could be contacting my virtual assistant and delegating tasks, talking to licensees and manufacturers, dealing with customer service issues. So that's probably the bulk of my time. This year, I really have made more of a concerted effort to prioritize the creative because at the end of the day, that's the lifeblood of my business. And if we don't have that, we don't have anything else. So I have challenged myself to create at least one new design a day in 2024. Whether that's happened,
Well, and I think you bring up a good point. And so then I would love to dive just a little deeper there. So even if that is the goal, what does that look like? Do you time block? Do you say, okay, for the next 90 minutes, I'm just going to
Mhm.
sit and let thoughts come? Or is there a brain dump process? Or like, what does that look like?
Sure. So I'm getting inspiration probably 24/7. It could be looking at Pinterest, or it could be something as casual as that street sign is a cool shape that I want to incorporate in my artwork. So there's really no method to that part of my madness, but I do try to time block. If I can spend an hour or 2 hours creating something, I will have done, the Lord's work basically for that day. But I find that I do my best work, kind of like how people get ideas in the shower or when they're on a long drive. It's when I'm not trying to work toward a specific deliverable or client assignment or what have you. It's just kind of when I let my mind wander within that parameter, that hour or 2 hour parameter, that I really do work that I love and that customers resonate with.
That's interesting because I had to figure that out about myself, being in a creative
Mhm.
services business.
Mhm.
You're right. It is certainly, it's still a business. And I learned that pretty early on, but then it was a struggle to figure out, okay, well, if sort of the it factor is my creative ability or my team's creative ability, I have to find
Sure.
time for that. And what does that look like? And for me, it's literally sitting. It's sitting and staring
Mhm.
out a window usually. Sometimes
Okay.
it's driving, but if I want to come up with like a campaign idea, I just have to sit and like let my mind go. So
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah. Awesome. So in thinking about your journey, how has the brand evolved over time, and what pivotal factors do you think contributed to the success?
Hmm. So my brand has definitely evolved, probably beyond what I thought it could have been from when I started. We've had several iterations along the way. And if I had to pick a starting point from when I had, from ideation to when I had a tangible product in my hand that I produced, I would say that was probably back in 2014. I wouldn't have even said I had a business at the time, but I figured out that the thing that I had been doing all my life, which was like doodling on stuff, was actually called surface pattern design, and which is the process of getting artwork onto a commercial product for
Oh,
sale, whether
wow.
it's
Okay.
home decor, clothing, what have you. I discovered that was an actual industry from going into a Target or a Nordstrom and seeing prints on clothes and realizing it looked like stuff that I doodled. I was like, how do people do that?
Oh.
How do people get artwork onto product and how does that work? So did my research, started going to trade shows and realized this was a thing. So not knowing anything about the industry, I kind of learned the hard way. I found out that my local West Elm let people do pop-up shops in their store. So if you're an artist or a designer, you could come in for the weekend for a few hours and sell your wares. So I was like, okay, let me make pillows. Not because I have a deep affinity toward pillows per se, but because it was a square and it's the easiest thing to get a print on. So, having the commitment to sustainability that we still have, I decided to source organic cotton fabric. I found a random woman-owned company that could do the printing. So I bought the fabric, had it mailed to this company, had it mailed back to me, found my local seamstress who could sew them. So it was a very long, drawn-out process in the beginning. We're a lot more streamlined now. And I just know a little bit about how production and manufacturing work.
That's
So, yeah.
incredible. So you mentioned sustainability, and that's definitely a question that I wanted to get to because I know it's obviously part of your core values as a brand. What positive impacts have these initiatives had on the brand as well as the community?
Sure. So sustainability as well as ethical manufacturing have always been part of the core of who we are as a brand. And I would say in the beginning, when we first got into West Elm, which was our first major retailer, we used not just sustainable fabric and dyes. We do that in all of our products across the board, but we really tried to focus on local manufacturing. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Amani Women's Center in Clarkston.
That sounds
Um,
familiar.
yeah, so it's an amazing program. They actually train women who are refugees and asylees with sewing skills, and some of them go on to work for other companies, some work for themselves, and some work in-house at the center. So that was kind of our production arm for a long time. So
Okay.
it was really not only does it provide value to the customer, but it really impacts the community as well. So
That's incredible.
we
I
always,
sorry, I lived in Clarkston for just a short period, and so I know the
Mhm.
community a little well, and that is, I'm sure, very impactful there.
Yeah, so we always try to be as 360 as possible in the
That's
production process.
incredible. Can you share insights into the most effective marketing strategies for Rochelle Porter Design and maybe a memorable campaign that you were super excited about?
Hmm. It's really interesting. We have obviously a highly visible visual brand, a very colorful brand. But in terms of social media marketing, for example, LinkedIn is our most engaged audience, which I'm still trying to figure out why. Um, but I think our most effective marketing campaigns, I don't even know if they start out as campaigns, but it's really how we take advantage of press coverage. So it's one thing to be included in a roundup of 10 best leggings or 20 more most colorful pillows. But what my team and I do is really kind of lean into that. Because of that, we have developed really great relationships with publications, with journalists, with people in that industry. And we have sort of become the go-to, like they know if they need a quote about bedding or what have you, or if there's a particular initiative coming up, if it's Women's History Month, what have you, they know they can come to us. They know we'll be kind of buttoned up. We'll have our press kit together. We will have a quote that fits into what they need. We'll have the right soundbite. So I think that's how we've really leveraged that. So while it's not a formal marketing campaign, it's something we've done consistently. That's
Listen,
worked.
I am a former publicist, and let me tell you
Mhm.
something. The fact that you guys internally have it together, you understand that when the journalists and the editors call, you have all that together is huge. I cannot tell you how many times in my past life as a publicist, so many
Mhm.
missed opportunities because the client didn't have high-res headshots. They didn't have a media kit. They didn't
Exactly.
respond in time. And I would tell them, I say, guys, I know this seems maybe frivolous to you, but if we are not quick to move, we are number one, not going to get the coverage. And number two, we're
Right.
going to sour the relationship because on their end, they got
Absolutely.
deadlines. And you have to be ready.
Yep.
Sometimes something comes through last minute, and you guys have an internal system as their publicists. We stay at the ready. So the last minute doesn't bother us, but we have to have
Mhm.
access to these assets to get
Yep.
to the,
Yep.
so that's amazing. That's awesome. I'm sure that goes a really long way, and it builds a solid relationship for y'all.
We try to stay ready so we don't have to
Stay
get ready.
ready so you don't have to get ready.
Right.
Listen, you just triggered something in me when you was like, we're buttoned up. We have our press kit. I'm like, girl, yes, I love to hear it.
We learned the hard
Um,
way.
I know that's right. So in terms of tech, I want to kind of switch to there. There's so many advancements all the time. How does Rochelle Porter design embrace tech trends like AI, obviously, to enhance the customer experience, but also to keep a personal touch?
Mm. This is a good one. So, just on a basic everyday level, I've become super dependent on ChatGPT for just content creation.
Mhm.
My background is in marketing communications. So, I was always used to writing for a client, whether it was creative or in the accounting world, what have you. I always had to adapt my voice to whoever I was speaking to. And we have multiple audiences because we do have the activewear line that's sort of separate from our core home decor line, just different products speaking to different audiences. And it just really helps with
Yeah.
writing quickly and putting out content. The technology is not perfect at all. So you still have to go in and tweak things, but that's been a huge time saver for me. Futuristically, there's so much technology we can leverage in our field just because we are so visual. There's virtual reality tours that we can do. We have a wallpaper line that just debuted last year, for example. I would love to be able to show the customer what the wallpaper looks like in their space before they buy the product, or even a pillow or a rug, per se. On the activewear side, something that has really caught my attention lately, and I would love to incorporate as quickly as possible as we expand, is I guess they call it fit technology, just kind of doing body scans to really get an idea of how the clothing would look on you before you purchase it. Because it's just going back to the sustainability piece, I think there's something like 30% of clothing that's bought online gets returned because of fit purposes. And those don't go back into inventory. Those go into a landfill. Companies often don't just resell those clothes, they get rid of them.
Really?
So I think that would be an amazing way to prevent fabric waste and plastic in the ocean by making sure the clothing fits right the first time.
Yeah.
So those are things we're definitely looking into in the future.
Okay. Exciting. Looking to the future and looking ahead,
Mhm.
what is next for Rochelle Porter Design? Do you guys have anything exciting on the docket for the next 2 to 5 years?
Um, yes, I'm trying to think what I can actually tell you at this point. So my philosophy has always been if it can have a print on it, I'm going to put a print on it. So we really want to expand into as many relevant product lines as possible. We are debuting a line with a retailer, which I cannot mention, probably toward the end of the year or the beginning of 2025. 2025, wow.
I know.
Yeah, so the beginning of next year. We are also working on some wall art, which is kind of a new product for us, which will be available online via Wayfair and All Modern. And we have some exciting expansion going on in our activewear line where we really want to go beyond activewear and into just other types of clothing that's
Wonderful.
sustainable and ethically made as well.
I love that. Well, this has been really incredible. I'm glad that we had a chance to talk about this. I keep up with your content on LinkedIn, and I can tell you it's mesmerizing. So I can see why your LinkedIn community
Oh,
is like really,
well, thank you.
really
That's a great
growing.
word.
Yeah.
It's a
hmm
compliment.
Well, that's going to wrap today's show. Thank you to our incredible guest, Rochelle Porter, founder and creative director of Rochelle Porter Design. We'll have contact information for Rochelle Porter Design in the show notes for anyone interested in supporting the brand. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and review. We'll see you next time. Thanks.